Hello, my name is Dr. Ginny Baro. I'm your GCA host on GCA Studios, brought to you by the GameChangeAgency.com. I'm also the CEO and founder of Fearless Women at Work, an executive coaching and career strategy company. And today I want to thank you for being here with us. And as my guest, I have someone really special coming all the way from Paris, France, Camille Solal. Welcome, Camille.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Camille and I are here to talk about something that I strongly believe in, which is how do we become better communicators? And specifically, we're going to be delving into the topic of fearless communication. And I know we had a segment that was similar to this on communication with Jane Hansen not too long ago. And I feel that this is a really important topic, especially for leaders. As we develop, I think our communication is one of our most powerful tools because it's what we use to inspire the people that we influence. And so Camille and I will be specifically talking about three things. We're going to be talking about the art of presence, the here and now, letting go and self-acceptance, and contribution and adding value to the audience. So let me tell you just a little bit about Camille. Camille has been on stage for over 30 years, and she's been a professional actor for 14 of those years. She's also been an art therapist, a communication advisor, and a coach for 10 years. She started when she was only 5 years old. That's why you see this. She helps people play the lead part in their play of life. So through our powerful tools, such as role-playing, acting tools, she helps speakers in TEDx conferences. She also helps startups with their demo day pitches, actors with their acting work, and women in leadership with their interviews and speeches. On a personal note, Camille is French and Australian, so you're going to love her accent like I do. She grew up in Réunion Island, which is this small region of France in the Indian Ocean. And she's been married and divorced. Welcome to the club. And she now lives with her partner, her true love, who is a film director, a writer, and their two lovely dogs. She's been living in Paris actually, for the last 22 years. And she travels often throughout, oh, how cute. And she travels through her country home and throughout Europe on tour and working with clients. So Camille, I'm so excited to have you here finally, right?
Yeah, me too. I'm super glad to be here.
Yeah, so Camille and I met networking, and my clients, I tell my clients all the time, the power of networking is just amazing. So we both went to the Tony Robbins Business Mastery in January 2018 in Florida. So we didn't meet there, right? We met afterwards, doing our networking afterwards. So excited to be here with you. So Camille, before we dive into the three topics that we're going to discuss this morning, tell me a little bit about your why. Why do you do all this stuff? You're acting, you're coaching, you're doing all this stuff. Why do you do it?
Well, Ginny, at the end of the day, to me, it's exactly the same thing. It comes to living your life, like my life, and helping people living their true life. Because if you're living someone else's life, what's the point?
That's right.
And I figured out that it's pretty easy to be misled through education principles or codes or whatever, and not daring living your life. So that's why I'm doing this.
So I want people to know this is how authentic Camille is. Camille just came back from teaching a class. And she literally told me the story right before we got on and started recording. And she told me she just walked in the door and she's been helping people who don't have a job, through her tools and her skills. So she's sitting here in her authentic self, and she's going to help us and give us the tools that we talked about, because this is her life. This is what she does every day. So I really thank you, Camille, for your generosity and for just being yourself. I mean, I do think that this is one of our gifts, being authentically who we are.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so let's dive right. I agree with you 100% that if we don't, if we aren't doing what we really want to do, then why are we doing this? What's the point? What is the point? So, all right, so let's get into the art of presence, the here and now. Tell us about that and what that means and how we can use it.
Well, like I was explaining to you, I think that theater is a great metaphor for life, because at the end of the day, when we meditate or when we go through yoga or for yoga practice, or when we ask ourselves the right questions about our lives, trying to find balance, it all comes to this notion of presence and presence, the here and now. Like the past is an illusion, future is an illusion. The only thing we have is present. But how do we reach that? How do we feel that? How do we grasp that? We can't.
Right.
But and when you're on a stage, when you're acting, this is theater. Not a movie set, because you can do and redo and redo, and you can have this illusion that you master time. But when you're on a stage and the plays start, you cannot stop it. Well, you could, but that's not the code. That's not the way,
Right.
People don't play for that. So, or
Right.
it's a rehearsal. So you have to be there and cope with whatever is happening.
Right.
And the magic of it. You have to actually be here and now, and to accept and embrace everything, every single thing that is happening. With your partner, with yourself. You can be ill, you can be sick, you can have, you can't remember your lines. There's a light falling on the stage. I actually went through this. There's a gunshot in the street. There's all kinds of stuff that can happen, and you have to include that and to deal with that. And I think it's a prodigious and beautiful metaphor for life, like trying to accept everything and then transform it, rather than and be there in the present. And if you're in that kind of presence, which is more than a state of mind, it's actually a connection of all the body. But maybe we'll talk a bit more about that afterwards. I don't know. But it's one way. It's a great way to live, right?
So let's take that explanation that you gave us and apply it to, let's say, I am getting ready to go and give a speech at my company, right?
Yep.
And I've been preparing. I have the material ready. I know what I'm going to say. I have my 3 key points. And stuff happens, right? My child gets sick, or I find out somebody got ill in the family, or there's stuff happening at work. The market crashed. We just had a huge correction last week. It's February 2018, so we had a huge correction last week in the market. People were panicking. So depending on what's happening, there may be things happening around you. And what I'm hearing you say is that we take it all in, right? Mm-hmm. And we kind of harness that, owning all of it, being in it, feeling it, and yet being able to get up and still deliver the message that we're here to deliver.
Yeah.
So how do I do that? How do I get myself in a place where I am present, where I am here and now? What are some of the tools that you would suggest that we apply?
Well, first of all, I like what you said. Obviously, we all went through that. But I remember it was Tony Robbins' seminar that he gave on the very day of 9/11. He was on stage doing, I think it was...
in Hawaii, I think.
Sorry?
I think it was in Hawaii, right? When this happened?
In Hawaii. But the theme, I think, was, it was emotional mastery.
Yes. Yeah, appropriate, right?
Very appropriate. And he said that powerful sentence, which I keep in mind. He said that even now, for you, it seems that your whole world collapsed and everything is falling apart, and that the whole world is concerned by this. But at this very minute, children are being born, and there are people getting married, and there are people that, to say it very in a crude way, but they don't care because they went through much worse stuff. And I thought, wow, this is so powerful. And it all comes to, the mental frame and representation that we have of the real world. So everything that you mentioned is true in a way, but at the same time, it can not be true, you know? It
That's
all
right.
comes to how you perceive reality, like frequencies. If
That's
I'm
right.
vibrating here, this is true, but if I'm here, I don't see it.
That's right.
So to me, the key is to get back to what's tangible, what you can grasp in a way. So that will be your five senses and your breathing.
Mm.
So when you focus, everyone talks about breathing, and it can be a bit boring, but at the end of the day, when you just realize that, are you breathing or not? Are you holding your breath? It connects yourself to your body, to your state here and now. That even that can be difficult at the beginning.
Mm.
Just realizing,
Breathing.
yeah, like, do I want to jump to something else? I'm following this great course online by Adriene. It's called Yoga with Adriene. Every day I do 30 minutes, and she insists very much on that notion of breathing, being connected to here and now, and I realized that I want to perform. I want to move to the next move, actually, and I thought, this is great. She's
Slow
helping
down.
me, yeah, and applying what I teach. So that's great.
That's right. That's right. No, I love what you said about breathing, because that's a lot of what we do when we meditate. A lot of methods of meditation is to focus on your breath. And what it does is it brings you to this moment, right? There is nothing else right now but this conversation that you and I are having, regardless of what's happening around the world, regardless of all the, right, all the events that are going on as we speak.
They will happen anyway. And like Tony said as well, there's this sentence that he says, when you're in your head, you're dead, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
I think that when you're using your senses, first of all, it's much funnier. Like, for example, there is something I do beside breathing. I try to attend each day, or to go through each day focusing on one sense. For example, we tend to focus on visual if we have the gift of sight. Well, I mean, you know what I mean, because we all have that, and especially people who can't see, they are very, very gifted for seeing things better than we do most of the time. But for example, if I focus on my nose and the way I smell things, I will rediscover completely my world. And the next day, I will focus on the touch, on how things feel when I'm getting dressed, when I'm, I don't know, saying hello to someone, when I'm getting into my car. And this is another dimension, like revisiting all the time the world, my world.
Interesting.
No?
So one of the things you're suggesting is using our senses and really exercising, feeling life through our senses, which we normally don't, right? We're just in autopilot. We wake up, we shower, we get ready, we put our clothes on, we get in the car, or we, hop on the train and we commute, and then we get to work, and then we go about our day. So, so far, the what you've highlighted for us is breathing. Sometimes just focusing on our breathing is going to put us in this moment.
Exactly.
Right? In our bodies, too.
Exactly. Getting in our bodies in a very free way, like not only when I go to the gym, or not only when I'm sick, or when I have my leg hurting or something, and then I'm obliged to attend it. I'm obliged to focus on it. So let's not wait for our body to send messages. I mean,
painful messages usually.
Painful messages, exactly, because our body don't lie. So there's a great book in France. It's called I think it might be the same in English. It's body. Your body doesn't lie, basically. So if you pay attention to all the messages, and you get these habits of listening, connecting to your senses, and for example, you have this meeting and you didn't ask yourself, what do I feel about it? Not what do I think, but what do I feel about it? And then you realize that you're like this. And if someone is, I don't know if you can see my legs, but
we can.
My arms. And if someone says, you don't seem very happy to see that person, and say, that's great. I'm super happy. I'm very.
Your body language is saying something totally different.
Totally different. And your body is right and you're wrong. And you're trying to convince yourself of something. Right. So pay attention and accept to listen to your body, because this is the truth.
Right. So then it's almost like we can do the opposite, right? Which is to say, for this meeting, I want to feel open. I want to feel receptive. and I want to feel curious about what's going to be discussed. So then you just show up, and your body language will also express that feeling that you're trying to have.
Yeah, and what I'm working on with, you said earlier, I want to prepare myself, for example, for a pitch or a conference. I apply that. I start with here and now. So, for example, if my speaker is very tense or very fearful or very, I start with that, saying, okay, let's accept that. Let's deal with that. Let's include that, not pretending that you're super relaxed. And no, okay, you're in this state. And this is great because this is meaningful.
Yes.
And maybe it will have add value to the whole thing. It will get more, emotional. This is
absolutely. Yeah. In coaching, we call that experiencing the moment.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of just blazing through it like it doesn't exist, there's so much value to experiencing it and having it. So what about letting go and self-acceptance? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it's directly connected to that. One of the things that makes us so miserable is that we want to change ourselves all the time. We want to be someone else, to be different, to be slimmer, taller, whiter, blonder, blacker, whatever. And it all comes to illusion. It's all a mental projection, which is stupid. I can see so many young people getting so miserable, spending time on Instagram and comparing themselves. Mm-hmm. This is an illusion because as long as we are not clones and we are not in this cloning process, we are unique. I mean, it's not a figure of speech. This is a scientific reality, right? So I cannot be compared. There are not two Camilles in the world. And this is the same for you, Ginny.
That's
and this is the same for every single person who is listening to us right now, watching us in the world. Mm-hmm. So when you're on stage, if I'm going back to the theatrical tool, when you're on stage, you know that you have to accept your body, even if you have complex. And I was chatting with you preparing this show and telling you that your complex and all your limitations and all your fears and your illusion that you want it to be someone else, they are like faithful groupies and they will wait for you backstage.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere, right?
Anywhere. They will
wait. You can leave them behind. Right? You can leave them behind for a little bit.
You will find them when you're getting back to, your lodge, whatever. Right. So for the time being, when you're on the stage, you have to cope and deal. For example, if I'm going on stage and I'm Medea or Virginia Woolf or whatever character, she looks like me. I can change my hair, I can change my face, but at the end of the day, she looks like me. And if you, Ginny, plays the same character, she will look like you. Right. So we have to do with our the reality of what we have to a certain extent, Right. And this is a great lesson and metaphor for going through life with doing with what you have and making the best of it and stopping to compare yourself because it all comes to an illusion.
Absolutely, yeah. And so the letting go part is just let go of all these assumptions, right?
Exactly.
Expectations, and rather just accept what is and enjoy it.
It's as if going, when you're trying to survive, there are all these survival shows that we can see on TV. So they go to the desert island or somewhere, and there's, at first sight, they think there's nothing, but nature is very generous. So there are things, and they have to stop focusing on what is missing or what they're used to, and then they rediscover what they have and what is there. Oh, there's a river here. Oh my God, there are trees. There are fruit in this tree, and maybe I can use that. Oh, maybe this is a better, healthier way of living. And then I look better and I love it.
That's right.
So it's interesting.
This is the equivalent, I think, Camille, of, when it comes to performance, right? When we focus on the weaknesses and we try to improve the weaknesses, we will become average at best, right? But instead, if we focus on our strengths, it's been, the studies show that when we focus on our strengths, our performance increases because then we're really truly leveraging who we are and the talents that we have. So I love that you brought this up about almost having your own benchmark, and maybe your benchmark is yourself.
Exactly.
Right? Rather than always trying to compare yourself to someone else. In the context of what we're talking about, a fearless communication, if we're always comparing ourselves to a great speaker and we don't feel that we are up to that point, then we will always feel less than, and that's always going to be a shadow, right? When we get on stage, that will dim our light as we are trying to give a message.
Exactly. I read this sentence. It's called, when you're comparing yourself to others, you become bitter. Yeah. And when you're comparing to yourself, it becomes better.
I love that. Bitter versus better. Yeah, I love it. And I know it sounds cliche, like, oh, really? I'm not going to compare myself to other people. Come on, Ginny. Be realistic. This is a world of, competition. Everybody's competing against everybody. And I would say, yeah, I think you should compete. You should compete a lot with yourself, right? Compete to beat yourself every single day. So every single day you could be your better self against yourself.
And invent yourself and create yourself. Like it's George Bernard Shaw. He said, living is not about finding yourself. It's about creating yourself. And I just love it because it's written. Some people, a lot of people tend to live as if someone else had the key or the clue about themselves. Like, tell me who I am. They don't.
Right.
There's not a secret book.
Right. That's
somewhere.
Right.
That would be the key to that. You have to write your own story.
That's right. Your own script.
There is no script. Maybe if you believe in other lives, maybe. But at the end of the day, we don't know yet. So you have to invent, write, create your own story.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, it's creating your own script. And also, going back to the expectations, is many times we've written a script and we expect life to follow that script. And when it doesn't, we're so disappointed. And we really crumble sometimes to the point where we can't even recover, especially being divorced. I, for example, never expected to be divorced. I got married in my mid-30s. I figured I'll be married for the rest of my life. So I had a script. And when the script doesn't pan out, you could go down and just completely, feel defeated. Or you can say, you know what? What did I learn from this? What did I learn about myself? And move forward. So, in my book actually came out of that entire period of being in that place of rediscovery. So it is really important to connect, right? To connect with who you are and to uncover who you are.
Exactly.
I love it. All right. So we're really.
And I would just add maybe and accept to be surprised.
Exactly.
Let yourself surprise yourself. Not knowing, just what are you made of? You don't know until you try.
Yeah, there was a quote that I posted on my Facebook, a fearless woman at work, that said, women are like a bag of tea. You never know what they've got until you put them in hot water. And I would say that out of everybody, right? I think you really get to see people's grit and resilience when they're going through really tough times and when life throws all kinds of things at them, good things and bad things, right?
Yep.
As we call them, good or bad. I think they're all just things to learn about. All right, so let's move into contribution and adding value to your audience. Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, when I'm teaching people about public speaking, this is such a great fear they have because they are in this illusion that there are still children and they are still going to the blackboard and maybe the mistress or the teacher will, give them a mark and the other children will giggle. I know it's very different in the States there than it is in France because people are very, very judgmental here and you're not allowed to speak if you're not perfect and you have to be very sure about what you're saying, the exact word, blah, blah, blah. So when people get into adulthood, they tend to keep that frame, that state of mind, and it prevents them from the reality, which is when you go on a stage, you're here to serve others, not for yourself, except if you're an actor, which is half. You love it, you just do it because that's the thing, you love, you enjoy yourself. But at the end of the day, you're here to contribute, to serve.
That's right.
To deliver, to inspire, to tell a story, to sing a song, to
entertain. Yes.
To entertain, to change lives maybe. And when you're focusing on contributing and serving, and you forget about yourself, and it's, your limited self. You
That's
get
right.
beyond yourself. You get greater than yourself. You're connected. If I want to use a Jedi word, you're connected to the Force.
Yes. Yes. You're in flow. You're in flow.
You're
Yes.
connected, and
Yes.
and the play and the story becomes very, very enjoyable.
That's right.
So yeah, that's it.
Contribution, I can totally see what you mean by that, because I think when we focus on ourselves, especially if we're giving a talk,
Yeah,
and we focus on, what am I going to look like? What will people think about me? All of those things could create such stressful feelings, right?
yeah,
So if I'm focused more on what am I going to give the audience, what are they going to walk away with that's going to make their life a little bit better?
exactly.
Whether
That's
it's right, whether it's sharing what the company's vision is, what the next product or service is, how we're going to improve a specific process, anything.
I'm deeply convinced that you're not here to be loved. That the confusion we can make or have is going on stage expecting love. Like I want every single one to like me or appreciate me, or
Right.
this is not your problem, because even if you're at your best, and even if you feel irresistible, there will be people who will hate you and
That's
they will
right.
look like shit or whatever. So you cannot please everyone, and this is not your mission. You're not here for that. You're here to deliver something, a service to serve. And then if people like you and think you're great, you're beautiful, you blah blah blah, then that's the cherry on the cake. But
That's
you
right.
cannot depend on that.
That's right.
You have to find your own circle who will love you no matter what, even when you're getting out of bed, even when you're wearing makeup, whatever. This is how you become stronger and more powerful and connected to the real self in you, and not just to the appearance, the superficial, aspect of things.
That's really deep what you just shared, right?
Thank
I
you.
think because you're right. I think we are every single day of our lives, I believe we're all looking to meet our human needs, right? The 6 human needs: certainty, uncertainty, significance, right? Feel like we matter, like that we're making a difference, connection, right? We all want to belong, and growth and contribution. So many of us use our work as a way to meet those needs, right? And I think having that awareness that we are constantly looking to meet our needs is a great way to kind of help us calibrate. If we're getting on stage, if we're giving a speech, if we're sharing news, and we're trying to communicate, whether with our loved ones or with our teams, I believe that having that awareness of where you're coming from is so important, rather than being completely unaware and autopilot as to why you're communicating. Sometimes we're communicating to get significance, to feel important, right? And we know people in our corporate world who do this all the time. We call them people who are always tuning their own horn, right? We know people who just want to connect with you. We know people who are looking to contribute to you. So I think what you're saying is, when it comes to getting on a stage, when it comes to giving a speech, if you focus on the contribution aspect of your human needs, that's when you truly show up authentically.
Exactly. And to me, once again, it's a great metaphor for life. If you focus on, there is nothing wrong on focusing on just significance, and it's a great food for the ego, and we all need that at some time. You you go through a party and you feel beautiful, and all the gaze are on you, and it just feels great. It's cool. Nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't last. It's like a shoot of
It's
adrenaline.
fleeting. It's fleeting. Yes.
It's fleeting. So I think the only lasting feeling of satisfaction and meaning that you can give your life, and the magical thing is contribution. And when you're into that, all the other needs will be met.
That's right.
Like people will think you're significant, beautiful, you're
connected,
growing, connected. They will even love, and you have certainty and uncertainty as well. And it gives so much inner freedom. So much.
That's right. Yeah, Tony teaches that, right? Contribution meets all your human needs. And it sounds counterproductive. How can I giving fill all my needs? Well, think about what you just described. So I totally agree. And so we have 3 things that we're going to do going forward as we get ready to present, as we get ready to talk to our audience. And we're going to keep these three things in mind: the art of presence, being there in the moment, feeling your body, feeling where you are, knowing what is happening, right? And still being being completely grounded.
Totally.
We're going to talk about and focus on letting go and self-acceptance. So just let go of any expectations, and at the end of the day, we're here to contribute.
Yeah, and work on, with what you have to meet this, to climb this mountain. But
That's
stop
right.
dreaming to be someone else to climb the mountain.
Right.
Climb the mountain, what you are right now.
And focus on your strengths. What do I, again, like I love the analogy you used of the island, right? When you're dropped on an island and you don't have all the things that you have in modern life, you go, oh my gosh, I don't have a car, I don't have this, I don't have that. But then when you start looking at the resources, look at the resources you do have.
Exactly.
Stop focusing on what you don't have and focus on what you do have and leverage that.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome, Camille. I know we went longer than expected, and I don't care because it was totally worth it. So thank you for those of you who hung in there with us. And Camille, I know you have a gift for the audience. This is part of your contribution and how I contribute also to my audience. So what is it that you're going to give them? I know you mentioned a 15-minute consultation.
Yeah, it's true. So if anyone wants to, just talk a little more and maybe have a little advice or to on what they are going through in their lives, if they need more sur mesure, like individual tips or anything, I would be more than delighted to chat with them and give them
So tell them where they can find you.
They can find me on pretty much on a lot of social media like LinkedIn, Instagram, on my website www.camillesolal.com. I'm rebuilding my coaching site, which will be even more, it will be easier to reach me then. But I think that's the easiest way right now.
Okay, and we'll give you all the details that they will be included with this video. So people can find your website and your email address as well. And you can find me, Dr. Ginny Baro, at fearlesswomenatwork.com. And my book, actually, Fearless Women at Work, is now available on Barnes & Nobles and all local bookstores as well. So Camille, thank you so much. You are such a great spirit. And I do look forward to collaborating again in the future. And to my audience, thank you for being with us today. And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye, Camille.
Bye.